One band, 3 albums, 4 months, 37 songs,
and 1 fucking minute!
This is the Boneheads review the trilogy.
Boneheads!
Contradictory demagogue glasses, I'm Ska.
I'm Kevin. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jack. And welcome to a Boneheads random ramble about the trilogy of Uno, Dos, and Tre. So, anticipation to this album. They released a video on it about a month before Uno's release.
Like 3 months.
Whatever. I don't remember. All I remember was Billy doing the shaka.
Stickler for facts.
But anyway, were you guys excited for this album? What'd you think?
Jawohl.
Jawohl?
German for yes.
I just thought, guys, don't fuck this up. And thankfully they didn't.
I was kind of skeptical until I heard all the singles from Uno, and I was actually got pretty excited. Like Let Yourself Go and Nuclear Family and Carpe Diem. When I heard like the studio version of and all the live versions, I got super excited.
I feel like I'm one of the only people who was excited when I heard Oh Love for the first time. Because a lot of people were like, this is going to suck if the whole album sounds like this. And I was like, not necessarily.
Well, Oh Love, I didn't really like at first. But, you know, after a few listens, it started to become one of my favorite songs. Now, after listening to Uno, it's still a good song. But I'd rather listen to something like Angel Blue or Rusty James.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Those are some really good tracks off Uno. Those are great. And what do you think, Scott?
I thought the entire trilogy was awesome. I was really anticipating it because, I think they said something about American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown being really, they're taking a slow pace. They're going to jump back into the fast pace. And they're going to go back to, like, their Dookie origins. But I didn't want another Dookie. I wanted a brand new album that sounded really kick-ass, and I think they did that very well.
Yeah, actually, in their documentary video, Quattro, they said that American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown, they wrote all those songs in the studio. They weren't really together. They were just like, how would we do this? Oh, that sounds nice. And this time, they were still in the studio, but they were all together collaborating. So it's not like Billy brings in these lyrics. It's like Mike Dirnt and everybody just collaborating on one song.
And I highly doubt I'm alone on this, but I really heard when I heard that they were releasing 3 albums like basically at the same time, just a month or so apart for each one, I tried to convince myself that it was going to consist of the lost tracks of Cigarettes and Valentines. Now that all 3 have come out, I doubt it very much, with the exception of a few songs. Like I heard a rumor that Amanda was supposed to be on it, and listening to the lyrics, it could be correct. Because if you think of the timing when Cigarettes and Valentines was supposed to come out, 2003, the line in Amanda says, I'm not the same kid I was 15 years ago. And 15 years ago was 1988 from 2003. Mm-hmm. And Amanda is allegedly the person Billy Joe had wrote most of the songs on 39 Smooth about. So I could see how that might be correct.
Awesome.
But
wait, I thought Amanda was the girl he wrote like She and Stafford House Roots and
she is about his wife, Adrian. I saw that in an interview.
Well, I thought he said it was about the same girl he wrote, the girl who moved to Ecuador.
No, behind the music of Green Day, he said that he wrote a song. He wrote She about Adrian because she was engaged to someone else when he was back in California, like right before they were about to record Dookie. And then one day he just called her up.
Chump was about.
No.
No
that
way.
Might be. I don't know. But
Chump would make a lot of sense.
Is about
I don't think Chump
Adrian.
would make any sense.
She is about Adrian. I know for a fact.
But anyway, back to the trilogy.
Yeah.
So, Uno, do you think it was a really good start? Because basically, out of the trilogy, we start with Nuclear Family. There's no, like, bullshit Song of the Century or something.
This is me shaking my head. Yes.
Yes.
I thought Uno was a good first album for the 3.
It was a really sweet beginning, and then they kind of cushioned that, and they brought up these more heavier albums, and Tre I thought was the heaviest, most rustic.
I can't say there was one heavier than the other. It was weird to me. Like, I love these albums, but they don't seem at all new to each other. Because when I think of like Green Day albums being new, the tone comes to mind. Even the way they produce the vocals, the way they produce the guitar, it's all the same throughout these 3 albums. So it kind of makes nothing new.
Yeah, like Billy Joe, he did a lot of double tracking his vocals, which he hasn't done as much in the past, but on this record, I think I think I barely heard Mike do backup vocals except for that one time he did lead vocals.
Sex,
on
drugs,
Train.
and violence.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think all the backups, I think that's Billy Joe singing his own backup vocals.
Well, he always
No,
does
I
that.
think Stay the Night had Mike.
Well, of course he does, but Kevin, even though you may think it's Mike, pretty much Billy Joe has always done his own backups.
Yeah, but you can-
And if you don't do that in the studio, it's gonna sound a little off unless it's meant to be that way.
I think I can hear Mike, though, because you hear his voice live and you hear it on the record. It kind of sounds pretty similar.
They almost have a similar singing voice because I know Mike and like Jason are trying to sound like Billy Joe, so it sounds more in the studio. And they've really done that well through their live performances.
I actually think it's kind of funny how Billy Joe has a relatively high voice when he's talking. And he can sing. He sings really high, especially on these 3 albums. But like he also sings pretty low sometimes. And Mike has like a really deep voice. But like
he's
every
the
time he
highest.
sings, he's really high.
Like, actually, one of the only tracks I said I loved on 21st Century Breakdown had Mike on vocals, the Modern World one. I thought that was a good song. I actually think they should give him more opportunities.
American Eulogy, the second half
yeah,
was
I
Modern
don't-
World.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would give Mike a few more chances to sing lead vocals, because I think he can handle it pretty well.
Well, Mike's a great vocalist. Jason's a great vocalist. Trey's a vocalist.
I want to hear another Dominated Love Slave. If their whole album was just Trey singing the whole thing, I would love that
So anyway,
much.
we conquered Uno. What about Dose? So we go from this like heavy driven kind of like stay the night, love you and shit, and now it's like let's fucking party. There you go.
Fuck
There's
and party or fucking party?
No, fuck and.
Okay, just making sure.
I thought you were gonna say something about that, but anyway.
Not right.
No, thank you. But Dose, it's a real change of pace. Do you guys think that it was too much?
A little bit. I
It
think
was-
they
it was
tried a
weird.
little too hard to not sound like them, with the exception of like Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley is like if you put Ashley on Uno, I think it would fit right in. But if you put like Wow That's Loud or Fuck Time on Uno, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
I frankly got sick of the oldie sounding songs they had. I mean, like probably 1 or 2 are fine. When you're constantly coming out with them, it gets pretty annoying. I'm not really a big fan of really classic rock, and I know I might get a lot of hate for that, but I don't really like the Rolling Stones that much.
Yeah, like 3/4 through the album, I was like, are they going to play any kind of regular Green Day songs? Not that I didn't appreciate their change of sound, and not that I don't like oldies, but I expect a band like Green Day to play Green Day sound type songs. So I was a little disappointed with that, but Dose is still a good album.
Now you see, I'm a different way. I was so glad that Uno was more classic Green Day-ish, and Dose was completely different. I'm glad for that change of pace. And Dose, I like a little bit better than Uno, but that's just because of Wow That's Loud, which is probably my favorite song now.
I have to agree with Jack. I like the change of pace. It was Green Day trying up something new. I feel like it's kind of bad, like, that Green Day is, like, not really allowed to step outside their metaphorical box, which is known for big stadium rock songs and catchy pop punk songs. But it's basically the 2 things that made them popular. And when they say, we want to try something a little bit different, it's not as well received. And maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't, but I just think that's my 2 cents.
Well, I don't think that they shouldn't experiment, but I mean, when you do it for like a whole album, it's history of music has shown that like almost 9 out of every 10 times when a band makes an album that completely steps away from their original sound, people don't usually react well.
I am really surprised that they took this approach because, Jake, I think it was you telling me this, that when they released Warning, Billy was upset that it wasn't as well received as it was.
Billy said that, I just told you.
Yeah. You told me this. It's weird. I'm surprised that they would take another Warning, air quotes, step in these 3 albums, which are kind of lighter toned.
Well, because I think Billy Joe was at a phase in his... Everyone, at one point when they reach success, I think they get rock star syndrome, where their ego kind of gets the better of them. And I think the Warning era was kind of that for Billy Joe. Because if you watch, like, footage from that time, he was kind of full of himself and trashing other people. Like, they've been known for trashing, but he kind of did it overboard.
Fucking Justin Bieber.
So, I mean, at the time, he was probably just pissed that it wasn't another Dookie-type album, which I think is probably what he wanted. But I think now he really just could not care less what other people say. Like, his freak out at iHeartRadio, that was probably the true him, because he's like, when he said, I've been around since 1988, it's like, so he's probably in his mind, yeah, I've been around for nearly 25 years. I could care less if you guys don't like what I'm still doing, because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, he did kind of do that, but he kind of fixed himself up until recently, and he's gotten really good. But I have to say, I'm actually kind of noticing a pattern is, I don't think it's going to go fully, but I think they're coming back to the situation that they had after Dookie, which is Dookie was almost super well received, and then the rest of their albums are kind of mixed reviews. It's kind of happened with American Idiot. American Idiot was like almost incredibly positive, and then like 21st Century Breakdown through TRE, it's kind of been mixed. But I don't think it's ever going to be like full Dookie where they almost get completely forgotten again, but I think it seems kind of like they're going slightly smaller.
Speaking of the forgotten, TRE... I'm so proud of myself. But anyway, TRE,
congratulations.
Thank you. This is the end of this trilogy. We just discussed in our TRE review, so we shouldn't dwell on it too much. But one thing I want to ask, what's next? What do you think they're going to do?
Like, I was actually asking myself that. Like, what if this was Green Day's last album? And I thought to myself, I liked Uno and Dos and TRE. But I really would not want this to be the way they leave. Like,
I don't want another
if they were to
stunt.
split or to retire, or, God forbid, one of them died or something, I would really not want this to be the last stamp they put on the timeline of their musical, career. So I hope for at least a few more records.
And I think it's going to be a long time since we get another Green Day record. I mean, Billy Joe, he said he pumped out like 60-something songs. And here we have with a plate of 37. That is a shit ton. It takes me, personally, like 2 months to write one song, and Billy just did all this. He's got to be creatively tired out. He's got to take a break. So I would say I don't even want another Green Day album for at least another year.
I think if this is the end of Green Day's career, I think this actually is a good ending to their career, because it's kind of like, it feels like if this was the end for Green Day, it would feel like a nice and sweet ending, and it would really bring out who Green Day really is.
I think this record, if this was the last Green Day record, I'd be slightly disappointed, but I'd acknowledge like this. At least they finished doing what they loved, and this is. I think these 3 records individually show this is what we love to do. Fuck you if you don't agree.
Well, that would also be a good thing to keep going. Like, I don't want them to end with, this is what we love to do, and we're going to stop doing it. I want them to be, this is what we love to do, so we're going to grow old, and you're going to grow old with us.
I predict Green Day has at least another 15 years left, even if it's just one album and 15 years of touring and TV appearances. But this is not, unless a very extreme circumstance occurs, this is not the last we'll see of Green Day. And I hope whenever their final record is, I hope it's kind of more Green Day and less experimental, just because I would like them to go out with the way they started.
I also think it'd be kind of hilarious to see Green Day do a Rolling Stone situation where they're almost in their 70s and still playing, and Billy Joe still looks like he's 30.
I hope that doesn't
That'll
happen.
happen. That will happen.
Shit.
That'll be so funny. Billy
Well,
Joe's
Trey doesn't age. He looks the same as he always
Mike
does.
Dirnt has always looked the same.
Billy
ever
has
since
had
he was born.
It's just his hair.
Billy has had like 3 different looks in his whole life. Like 15-year-old youngling
He's
who
had
doesn't...
Frankie Muniz.
Yeah. And then he was like 20-year-old burnout up until Warning, and now he's like the wise, getting older man who's still the life of the party.
But I can imagine that like Rolling Stone situation. He's adding up. Crack it up.
Well, thank you for listening to us ramble about the Boneheads. Pretty much collectively, this is our favorite band. We were proud to do the reviews on these 3 albums. Thank you guys for listening to us. I'm Jack.
I'm Jake.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Ska.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Leave a like, leave a comment, even if you're going to hate us. Good night.
Yeah, we still don't care.
Thank you.
And fuck.
I would like to take this time to mention that in the description below, we will be providing you a playlist with our 4 favorite songs from each album, saying this is like the greatest hits, in our opinion, of Uno Dos Tre. Thank you, everyone.